Hi, Keshav here. Welcome back. In this video, let's see how do we loop through multiple files. Those are there in different folders and have the data loaded from those files into SQL table. Alright. So in one of my previous videos, I've shown how do we loop through multiple files. Those are there in single folder. But in this case, just I wanted to loop through all the files. Those are there in more than one folder and have the data loaded into single table. That's what the requirement is. So let me take you guys into Azure portal and will show you exactly what I am trying to do so that it will be more clear for you. So I already logged into Azure portal and there is a storage account KRML storage which already I created. Within that, let me go to file share. Within this file share, I got one file share created, that is development. Under this development file share, I got 3 folders as of now. Each folder is for different state. And if I get into that state folder, right, so inside that I could see different files for each city, and those files will have customer address details from that specific city. Alright, if I get into state province 14 folder, I could see the files belong to that specific state. See, I got only 3 files as of now, and for Liverpool .xlsx and London Reading. Right, these files have got customer details from respect to cities. All right, so this Liverpool file has got all the customer details from Liverpool city, and London, it has got customer details from London. Likewise, Reading, and even the files, those are there in other state province folders as well. All right, so I want to iterate through these folders and iterate through the files within these folders and have the data loaded into SQL table. Alright, so that's what the requirement is. I need nested for each loop to have this requirement done, but we can't create nested for each loop. That means we can't create for each loop inside another for each loop. So this we need to achieve with some workaround. Let's see what workaround we need to do to get this requirement done. Alright, so before getting started with pipeline development, first let me show you guys the target table which I already created, that is address table. This is the table where I am trying to load the data from all those files. Let's go ahead and build the pipeline for this requirement. So let me just launch Azure Data Factory services. As I said, we can't create the loop inside the loop, right? So for that, what we need to do here, first we need to create 2 pipelines. So maybe if you name them as parent and child, of course we can name them as parent pipeline and child pipeline. It's up to you how you want to name it. So now I'm gonna name it this pipeline as maybe I'll say state-wise. So this will loop through the state-wise folders. Just for your understanding, in case if there is any confusion, so this is state-wise. I'm going to name it as state-wise underscore parent. So what this pipeline has to do, this pipeline has to fetch the child item information within that file share. That's what parent pipeline should do, right? For that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use get metadata activity here. This get metadata activity, what it does, it will pull information of all the child items within the file share. All right. So I'm going to name it as folder info. It will get folder info from the file share. Alright, let me just create the connection. I'm going to create a new connection. So our files and folders are there in file storage. So our source is Azure file storage. Let me just select Azure file storage, and the here type format is binary. I'm going to select binary for now because the files within the file share within the folders, the city files are there in Excel format, but we are not touching the files now. We are just trying to get the folder information first. So I'll go for binary format. So I'm going to name it as ds folder info, I'll say. And link service, I got already link service created. Let me just go ahead and use the existing one. It's pretty simple if you want to create if you want to know how to create link service. maybe just you can have a look into my previous pipelines. Those are there in the playlist. All right. So file path, yeah, just only the file share I'm going to select. That's development. You don't need to select any directory and file. Just say okay. That's it. We are done with get metadata activity, and we need to add in the field list what information we need to get through get metadata activity. So here we are gonna get all the child items here. Okay, so within that file share, whatever the child items are there, that child item names we are gonna pull through get metadata activity. So the argument for field list is child items. Then this child items has to be passed to the next activity. So the next activity should be the for each activity, because it has to loop through all the folders, or we can say all the child items, those are being pulled through get metadata activity. All right, so it will loop through the pool of child items, those being pulled by get data metadata activity. So directly go to settings, and here items should be from where? From the get metadata activity, that is folder info. From here we are just pulling what? Child items, right? Child items. That's it. So finish. That's it. We are done with our parent settings, but just I wanted to test whether it is working as expected or not. So for that I'm going to just add one activity, that is wait activity. I got nothing to do with this wait activity, but just I wanted to execute this pipeline once and see whether it is getting the folder information within that, okay, within the file share or not. So I'm going to just straight away debug the pipeline. Let's wait for a few seconds. It's queued now. So once this is done, we'll proceed with the next pipeline. All right, seems it is getting the required info. So let me just go to this get metadata output. Yeah, this get metadata output, see here, it is pulling the folder details, SPID 14, 17 and 20. We got only 3 folders. All right, so our pipeline is executing fine, and getting required info as well. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just go ahead and create the next pipeline. So this I'm gonna name it as city-wise. Maybe I'll just name it as city-wise underscore child. Sorry. All right. So what activities we need in a child pipeline? Again, we need get metadata, because we need to get all the child items within the folder. Before parent in parent pipeline, we got all the child items within the file share. Now here the get metadata activity in the child pipeline should get all the child items within the folder. All right, so what are the folder that we are passing through parent pipeline? So it has to get all the child items within that folder. Let's see, and I'm going to name it as file info dataset. Let me just go ahead and create new dataset. Again, it's Azure file store, and in this case also it will be binary, because we are not touching the real file, just only we need the file name. That's it. So say continue. I'm going to name it as ds file info. Yeah, link service. That's it. Say okay, and here again the field list should be child items. Done. Then again we need for each activity to iterate through all the files, those we are getting through the get metadata activity. All right, so again settings, go to items, within items. Now it should iterate through the child items coming from get metadata activity. So child items, that's it. Okay, now so each time get metadata activity pull all the file details, and for each will pass each file to the activity which is there inside Now what activity should be here, because from each file we need to load the data into target table. That's what our requirement is, right? So here to load the data I'm gonna use copy data activity. It will iterate multiple times for each file that is being passed by for each activity. Alright, and that data from that file should be loaded into target table. That's what the requirement is. So I'm gonna go ahead and do source settings. And before going ahead and complete with source settings, what we need to do here. So as of now, if you observe in the child package, the get metadata activity, again it is trying to get the child items from file share directly, right? If I go to edit, it is trying to get the child items from file share. So again this also will get only folder names, right? But that's not our requirement. Our requirement is like this get metadata activity in the child package should get only file names from the folder given by parent pipeline. That's what the requirement is. For that, what we need to do, we need to create one parameter within the dataset that we created for get metadata activity. So I'm going to create one parameter called folder. Parameter what I'm creating is it's a dataset level. Okay, don't be confused. This is a dataset level which is used for get metadata activity in child pipeline. Alright, so let me go back to this. Yeah, okay, and also we need the other parameter that is at pipeline level. So I'm going to create one parameter. So I can name it as folder, but if there is any confusion, maybe I can say parent folder. So this parameter is at pipeline level, which is created in child pipeline. So to get the folder name from parent pipeline, that I'll show you how do we connect and get the folder name from the parent pipeline. That I'll show you in few minutes. So yeah, one parameter is created at pipeline level, the other parameter is created at data set level, that is used for get metadata activity. Okay, now if you go to get metadata activity here, data set, there is a folder parameter. For that folder parameter, we need to pass the value from the parameter which we created at pipeline level. So that is parent folder parameter. Say finish. That's it. So this parameter which is created at pipeline level, this will get the value from parent pipeline, and that value will be passed to this get metadata activity through parameter that is created at dataset level, that is folder. Alright, so don't be confused. Alright, it is done. And so as I said, now we need copy data activity to copy the data from each file into table, right? Let's go ahead and complete the settings. So here I'm going to create new data set. Yeah, this time again the source is of course Azure file storage only, and this time the format should be the Excel, because the files those are there in the folder are in Excel format. So let me just go for Excel. Now let's give the dataset name. I'm gonna just say Excel file, and link service which is already created. Let me just go ahead and use same thing. Let's go ahead with same path. And sheet name, it is asking us to select the sheet name. Yeah, in each file we got data only in sheet 1. That's okay. Let me just in case if sheet names are different, then that is different story. So that we'll see in future videos, how we can just iterate through multiple sheets in Excel file. So as of now, in each file we got sheet 1, our data stored in sheet 1 in each city file. Alright, fine. So let me just go ahead and check this option. First row has got headers. Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna just say okay. Copy data activities, source settings are done. Now let's go ahead and complete sync settings. I'm gonna just create a new data set, and this time our destination is SQL database, right? So let me just go ahead and select Azure SQL database, and I'm gonna create data set name as DS SQL. DS SQL and link service. It seems already there. So okay, let me just go ahead and use existing SQL link service instead of going ahead and creating new one. Okay, it's already there, LS SQL. So let me select the table name, that is address table. Alright, so we are done even with sync settings. Now there is only one thing left, that is mapping. So mapping, of course it would have been done automatically. In case auto mapping is not done, then it should be manually mapped, right? So seems to be done, but let's see whether mapping is done or not correctly. So address ID to address ID and address line 1 to address line 1, address line 2 to address line 2. Okay, so now this is not mapped automatically because I think this SP ID in target table, but in source it is like state province ID. As names are different, those are not mapped automatically. In the same way, I think post code also not mapped because I think here also names are different. Alright, here postal code, but in destination table it is post code. That is the reason why those two fields were not mapped automatically. Alright, now anyways we are done with manual mapping. Should be fine now. Okay, so but there is one thing missing here. If you go to source file, right, it is trying to pull the data from the file what we given during our dataset creation, right? So but that's not our requirement is, right? So what I'm going to do, so whatever the dataset that I created for this copy data activity as a source, right, this is the one which I created. I'm going to create two parameters here. One is folder. So these parameters are to pass the value dynamically to the activity. All right, so this is one is folder, the other one is file, because the file and folder name will be dynamically passed to this copy data activity. So of course these two parameters are required. Okay, let me just go back to pipeline again. Okay, now if I go to copy data activity source settings, there are two parameters here. Those are expecting some value, right? So folder should get the value from the parameter that we created at pipeline level, that is parent folder. All right, so it has to get the value from parameter that is created at pipeline level, and file name should come from the for each activity. Here in the child in a pipeline, the file name should come from for each activity. All right, so I'm gonna just pause the dynamic content for this, and here the value should come from for each activity which is there in child pipeline. That's it. Yeah, we are done with all settings. The other thing what is pending is, yep, we developed two pipelines separately. One is parent, one is child, but we haven't created the link between these two pipelines, right? That's one thing is pending. So we can't execute this pipeline separately, right? These two pipelines should be executed as single pipeline. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to parent pipeline. So within the parent pipeline and within the for each activity, I'm going to just add, I'm going to take off this wait activity which I added only for testing. So now here, what I need to do, I need to execute the child pipeline here, right? I need to execute child pipeline. So child pipeline should be executed for each folder that is being passed by for each activity. Within the child, we got another for each activity which will loop through the files within that folder. That's how it works. Okay, now I'm gonna search for the activity that is execute pipeline activity. So through this execute pipeline activity, I'll be executing child pipeline within parent pipeline. So go to settings. Under settings, the pipeline to be invoked is city-wise, that is child pipeline, and we got one parent, we got one parameter created within child pipeline. If you remember, that is parent folder. So this has to get the value from where? It has to get the value from for each activity in parent pipeline. Don't be confused, it has to get the value from for each activity in parent pipeline. So that is there here. Done. Fine. So this parent folder parameter will get the value from this for each activity, and that will be passed to child pipeline within this. So that's it. We are done with all connections and settings. So what we can do, just straight away we can just go ahead and debug our pipeline. Okay, let me just go ahead and debug our pipeline, and we'll see if everything is going well. So I'm just debugging the parent pipeline. Okay, just remember we need to debug parent pipeline. Excel file location is a folder. Okay, so in the copy data activity, I forgot to do one thing. In the child pipeline, go to copy data activity. We did not pass this folder name through connection, right? So now we need to select wildcard file path in case if we are not passing the folder name while creating our dataset. So it will be passed through this parameter value, that's folder. So within this, again, what type of files you gonna load the data from. So as of now I just called store, because all the files those are being processed, I'm just trying to load the data from those files, right? So in case if you want to process only the Excel files or maybe CSV files and text files, then you can specify here. In our case, we are gonna we got only Excel files, so we're gonna load the data from all those Excel files. That's okay. Done. Now let me just go ahead and execute a parent pipeline. Started with the debugging. This will be just warning, it will tell you the sequence of execution. That's okay. Let's wait for a few seconds to our pipeline to be executed. Let's wait for a few seconds for our pipeline to be executed. Hopefully it will be done without any errors. That's what I'm guessing. Let's see. And meanwhile we can just check if data been loaded into table or not. Oh yeah, it started loading now. I think yep. Let's see. All right, our pipeline executed successfully when both parent as well as child. No issues. So yeah, data also been loaded. So in case if you want to see the distinct cities, you could see all the cities data be loaded. Yes, see Reading, Hamburg, London, Columbus, Berlin, Liverpool and Atlanta. So yeah, data is loaded for all the city files. Those were there in all three state province folders. All right, okay, I hope this is clear for you guys. Just let me just walk you through the pipelines again, just in case if you have any confusion where the parameters are created and how I call those parameters. So let me just walk you through the pipelines again so that it will be more clear for you guys exactly where I created parameters and how I called those parameters in the pipelines. All right, so first let me walk you through the parent pipeline. Under parent pipeline, just I used two activities, get metadata and for each, and I haven't created any parameters here. Get metadata, it will just pull all the child items within the file share. From that, for each activity will pull each child item and it will pass on to the next activity inside the for each activity. So inside for each activity we got execute pipeline, which will execute the child pipeline. So if I take you guys into child pipeline, again inside the child pipeline I just used get metadata activity to get child items within the folder this time. Okay, not in the file share directly, within the folder. That folder will be passed by passed by parent pipeline through the parameter. So to catch that folder name from the parent pipeline, so what we created one parameter, that is parent folder at pipeline level. Within the child pipeline at pipeline level I created one parameter. This will get the folder name from parent, and this parameter will pass on that folder to get metadata activity through other parameter. So we got other parameter created for the connection that we created for get metadata activity. That is, if you check, if you get into dataset, here ds file info is the dataset that I created for this get metadata activity, and under ds file info dataset I created one parameter, that is folder. This folder will get folder name from the parent folder parameter which is created at pipeline level. Alright, what are the folder being passed to get metadata activity? Pull all the items, child items from that folder, and those child items will be passed on to the next activity, that is for each activity. So this for each activity will pass each file name from that folder to the next activity. Here the next activity is copy data activity. So the copy data activity will load the data from each file into target table. Alright, so but how this copy data activity will get folder details and file name, right? So for that, again I created two parameters within the dataset which I used for copy data activity as a source. There are two parameters, folder parameter and file parameter. So this folder and file parameters will pass the folder name and file name to the copy data activity. So this folder parameter will get the folder name from parent folder parameter created at pipeline level, and this file parameter will get file name from for each activity which is created inside the child pipeline. I hope this is clear for you guys. So thanks for watching my video. Please do subscribe for more videos and like and share. We'll meet again with a different concept. Until then, bye bye. Thank you.